Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today. Hope you're all doing absolutely excellent. If there was any question about how much this community cares about the Fallout franchise, let it be known that we are still talking about the Fallout Day stream all these weeks later. I mean, think about it. If you have a bad Nintendo Direct, you have a bad Xbox showcase, a PlayStation showcase, we kind of drop our thoughts and move along. But with the Fallout Day stream, it's left a lingering hurt within the community during a time where it was supposed to be really exciting for the Fallout franchise. Like, here comes Season 2, here comes Burning Springs. So why are so many people dissatisfied? I think it's because at the heart of all of this is a major problem with Bethesda's lacking of adaptability to what their fans actually want. And I'm not talking about just shipping single-player Fallout games, but how they tease them, how they announce them, how they interact with their community. Everywhere I go, from Reddit to YouTube comments to videos like this, there's a sense of dissatisfaction with the franchise despite it being its most popular. The Fallout TV show just last year raked in 65 million viewers in 16 days. Fallout 76 saw 1 million unique players across all platforms in a single day around that time, and just recently announced over the summer that the game had seen over 23 million players in its lifespan so far. Meanwhile, that same day last year, where we saw 1 million unique players for 76, the rest of the Fallout games accumulated for a total of 4 million other players. The franchise is more popular than ever under Bethesda's tutelage. People are playing, loving, yet also very upset. Why is that? I'm going to get into the real problem today and then propose some solutions for Bethesda that don't involve them sacrificing their way of doing things. We know they like to keep things close to the vest. They don't like to announce too early, but I think there's ways to massage that and encourage them to adapt while still being true to themselves. And what made a lot of people love how they announce and release games, because you really don't have to wait once you see the thing that you're really excited about. So let's get to the heart of the real problem here. It's Bethesda's ability to balance audiences. I mean, originally the conversation was, how do you balance Starfield and Fallout and Elder Scrolls? But now Fallout has multiple types of audiences within its own general audience. Originally, it was just 76 diehards and then the single player fans, and they would kind of go at war with one another. Like, no, you need to support 76. This does matter. While the single player fans went, I don't care about that trash. I just want to play a traditional Fallout game. And Bethesda continued to really massage the 76 part of things because, let's be honest, it was good for the bottom line, easy, recurrent content, and nothing for the single player side of things was really ready to go. But now with the success of the TV show, you have introduced another audience, and that is the TV show audience. That is no doubt the more casual fan Bethesda was targeting with this Fallout Day stream and trying to shake you down for money every 15 seconds. But now you've got 3 divisions looking for different things within your massive franchise that, frankly, after this showcase, just feels woefully undersupported. And I'm not trying to put Bethesda between a rock and a hard place here, because I think if you're looking at Fallout Day every year, one of these 3 audiences is going to be let down. And I think especially as of late, the single player audience has taken the brunt of that. 76 is usually pretty readily taken care of, but it's become so bad that Todd Howard has to let people know at the end of the show more is on the way, or they even have to spoil their entire showcase before it goes live, only for people to still end up being angry. And doesn't that say something, though, that for all Bethesda's carefulness, communication, and attempts at transparency, people still walked away pissed? And I find it hard to imagine that all these people, myself included, just want to be pissed, although this is how the internet and people who work within the games industry will just label it. For one, I think Bethesda did, as I've said many times now, a terrible job selling anything new that comes with something like Fallout 4's Anniversary Edition. For all the conversation online about how terrible this game is, it's still popular and loved and played often. Instead of pushing any of the new content coming to the game, they kind of rolled out the same song and dance like, people should just be excited for this thing. And that's not how you overturn an audience that's against the product known as creations. We've only learned through a Steam update yesterday that Bethesda is expanding the creation space, which totally changes the scale at which these mod teams can work at. So why aren't you talking about that? I mean, it feels obvious. No, talk about these creations, talk about the space and how you can afford them to make bigger projects. But that's the problem, no? It feels as if they are very aware in these moments that they are selling us something that they know we will not like, and have just kind of accepted that. And I don't think that's how a business should operate around a franchise of this scale. And if it all is this obvious and Bethesda isn't doing anything about it, then it feels like everything's coming in hot, just like last year when the next-gen update came in hot and broke the game. And I know you've heard me talk about this a ton lately, and I do apologize for being a little bit redundant, but it's important to get to the heart of that because it then speaks to the broader issue, which is a massive disconnect between Bethesda and their fans at the moment for Fallout. It starts again many years ago. Fallout was always popular enough to demand more. Many, including myself, as you know, were screeching for more, but Bethesda did not oblige. And back then, the ask was much lower. We were like on the Xbox One and PS4, we said, just port these things over. That would be cool. Hey, oh, this new Nintendo Switch is out. Can we get a port for that? Because everything under the sun is being ported to that. It's only in 2026 that Fallout 4 is coming to the Switch too. As such, because of what I would call negligence, Bethesda is not ready at a time where plenty of people, primarily single-player fans, long-staying 76 fans, and new TV show fans, are eager for a new Fallout game. But instead, Bethesda celebrated 2 anniversaries by encouraging you to buy stuff. However, again, I've belabored this point enough, so let's move along to my real next one here, which is when I spoke to Todd Howard last year, he said that the show fills the gap alongside 76. And I think this is something fair to say, but it also leaves a large portion of your audience unaddressed. Much like the problem with Creations, 76 shares a similar, albeit not as large-scale issue nowadays, which is that you kind of just can't keep beating people over the head with more and more 76 and hoping that they'll change their mind one day. It's like there are just parts of your fan base that are like, online Fallout isn't for me. I think I'm a great use case for that. I'm a freak when it comes to this franchise. I barely play 76, even though there's new content coming to it frequently. Does that not say something to you? So ultimately what this leaves us with is Bethesda deciding what is good for a fan base, and their read of it is entirely wrong. 76, even in its best state, does not substitute a Fallout game. For many of us, I think even its most hardcore fans, it is a holdover. The Fallout TV show, even its best state, did not fill the void because guess what the result of that was? It drove us in the millions to go and play the Fallout games every single day afterwards. Creations are great for Bethesda and even the modding community, but when they were once available for free, so much of the community will understandably never get over that point. So I think while it makes sense on paper why Bethesda would think all of these things fill the gap, it always drives back to what people have been asking for since like Fallout 4's DLC stopped. And I do think it becomes a little bit more salt in the wound if Fallout Season 2 pulls off what the first one did, and it's excellent, and Amazon has managed to accomplish something that Bethesda hasn't done since 2010, where we got Fallout 3, its DLC in the following year, then 2010 arrives and it's New Vegas and its DLC following up. Fallout fans were fed. Meanwhile, you're looking at the show going in back-to-back years with new content, and you see how there has not been a new mainline game since 2015. I think it's ultimately unacceptable, as I've said before, and it really isn't something that they can fix now, but it showed a lack of proactivity from both Bethesda and Xbox since the acquisition went down in 2021. There were a number of times Bethesda had every reason in the world to jump on a new Fallout game, and it's at the point now where people no longer care if it comes from Bethesda. I know that invites in a lot of like, oh, I never cared in the first place, but you get my point. Like, people would take literally anyone at this point in time. So that's a very long setup. What does Bethesda have to do now? They have to change. Todd Howard has often touted that missing something is really important to a game. Like, it's important just to spend that time away from it and miss it. And that no doubt has an impact on sales alongside hype, which may override some of the issues people have in the launch window. But I no longer believe this is really the case, as the entire entertainment industry is just seeing an influx of content on a level we've never seen before. If you don't have what someone is looking for, there's just so many options on standby. And it's given rise to competitors that were often buried by the big dogs. There was a day and age where BioWare was a top dog in the RPG market, but nowadays you look at the new Expanse, Osiris Reborn, and you look at something like Exodus. These are two massive RPGs, funny enough, some of them having former BioWare talent, or in the case of the Expanse, directly referencing Mass Effect, and they've gained a ton of coverage online because they are filling the void. All Bethesda has to have happen to them is someone to step in and say, we're making a Fallout-like game, post-apocalyptic, wandering-focused experience, role-playing game, hardcore choice and consequence, and that'll just fill the void, and Fallout fans will go over there. That's why so many people had interest in Atomfall earlier this year. It just scratches that itch. So all you're doing by making people wait is leaving money on the table. Now, given Bethesda's working on Elder Scrolls 6, I understand why their main team would want to prioritize that, because if Fallout fans thought that they've waited a long time, then Elder Scrolls fans might have a thing or two to say about that. But how does Bethesda change? Well, they're known for these tiny windows between reveal and release. Look at Oblivion Remaster as the most recent example of that. It's now a top 10 selling game of the year, and that was a shadow drop. So there's no denying that since Fallout 4, Bethesda has mastered this, and in spite of all the pessimism surrounding them these days, it does just remind you when their games finally come out, how many more people are just excited to see them release something when it happens. And I don't think Bethesda takes full advantage of the fact that many people do love them. I know when you type in Bethesda online, you're not going to find anything there. I mean, Bethesda's an incredibly flawed company, especially these days, but they still have IP people deeply care about. And when they do things great, like Oblivion Remastered, folks have no problem celebrating them, even when that game was really broken. So yeah, the release and reveal window being tight works, but I do think it's time to add a new wrinkle to this formula. And they've broken the pattern before with games like Starfield and Elder Scrolls 6. Funny enough, another early example of Bethesda trying to get ahead of outrage by saying, don't worry, even if you don't like this whole online Fallout thing, we're doing 2 main big single player games that you really want after it. And that's been part of the problem for a while now. But this new wrinkle, or wrinkles I'm going to propose, are really simple solutions. I'll start with one I've talked about before, and that's the ARG. All Bethesda has to do is during this Fallout Day stream, promote a website throughout it, or put a little Morse code on screen, something like that, that leads you down a rabbit hole of puzzles that ends with something like a message from the Capital Wasteland from Three Dog, or just something that says Fallout 3 Remastered, or it could be music from Fallout 3. It could be anything, but allowing people just to connect those dots would go so far without changing anything, because Fallout is so massive of a franchise that entire channels are built around lore. Look at Oxhorn, look at Epic Nate with fan theories as well. I mean, these are entire brands, businesses, whatever you want to call them, built off a franchise that has not seen something totally brand new in its mainline franchise since 2015. I'm not even known for this stuff, and I even have my own Fallout 4 theories, like suggesting the main character could be a synth thanks to a conversation with Dima during Far Harbor's main questline, and that tracked over 250,000 views when both my channel and the Fallout brand were much, much smaller. You could look at BioWare's 2023 N7 Day, which pulled hundreds of thousands of views on YouTube alone. I don't know if you realize, Bethesda, how much you could do with just even teasing the setting of the next mainline Fallout game. It would fuel the conversation for years. Let's say we get something that mentions San Francisco as an example. We as a community, no doubt, would unpack that, and then we'd go back to old Fallout games, and we would look for literally any mention of what Fallout has done with San Francisco, just as we did with the replicated man quest line from Fallout 3 ahead of Fallout 4. It would spark ongoing anticipation without us knowing how it looks, what factions inhabit it, what's going on here, what the main plot is, how open the world actually is, any tech changes or gameplay changes, the things that actually create the hype. A simple ARG could lead to all of this. It's what I call free hype. We know so little and are so excited because finally we're getting something new. It doesn't have to be a release date, year, just a small morsel of an idea. And watch, as there are so many examples out there. Cyberpunk has its own running ARGs. You had Mike Pondsmith mention a city like Chicago, and the internet blew up over like, oh, hold on, what's going on with the next Cyberpunk setting? That's all it takes nowadays. People are way more connected than they used to be. And so I will say it again, Bethesda, if you ever want your boys' help, it's yours and it's free. I will happily do this because I genuinely believe in the idea so much. I also think the Fallout community needs to be thrown a bone, but I believe I can do it in a way, and we can do it in a way that does it without disrupting what Bethesda likes to do as a company. Because hear me out, look at it this way, right? We're talking about Fallout 3 Remaster pretty regularly here, right? This kind of goes back to what I said earlier about Bethesda deciding what's good for the community. We can pretend that the leaked FTC documents aren't out there. We can pretend that well-known, well-regarded insiders who leaked our previous projects like Oblivion Remaster aren't talking about Fallout 3's remaster. We can pretend all that is just not happening. Again, we can just pretend, but that is not the case. And I'm not saying conform and bend to leak culture, but there was a pretty catastrophic, uncontrollable FTC leak. Okay, you don't react to that, but now it's being talked about so much. It's like, guys, just confirming the existence of this thing really isn't moving the needle at all, since we all already know it is real. A great example of Bethesda showing adaptability is when Rage 2 accidentally leaked on Walmart Canada. I covered this one deeply because Bethesda was unbelievable at that time. I don't mean to sit here and go, yay, marketing, but the way they immediately spun up a campaign off of a Walmart Canada leak and drew so much attention to Rage 2, which is a game that I couldn't believe existed, but also definitely not a sequel that was like highly sought after. That's the on the toes adaptability that Bethesda has really lost in their marketing department, at least in some areas. And at times it does come across as a fan like they're just being too prideful. Like you have walking examples of N7 Day, Naughty Dog's Outbreak Day. They're right there for you to study and unpack. So why are you just ignoring that and trying to do your own thing on your own special day and doing it poorly? And while there is a lack of adaptability, there are some areas where Bethesda is doing a great job in cases like Starfield, where they're responding to concerns. They're trying to be ahead of the ball behind the scenes and really like listening, paying attention, reacting, the sort of things that I want to see change. And I think if you can do that with Fallout, you'll be in a much better place because you stand to gain a lot more there. Starfield's uphill climb, I do not envy because it's in a lot of ways feeling as steep as 76. So there's proposal number one. Proposal number two. People aren't going to like this idea. It's definitely out of the trio of ideas I have here, the one I'm least in love with, but playtest the game with your community early. I mean, at this point, Bethesda games are never done. You know, we're still talking about Fallout 4 10 years later. We're talking about Fallout 3 like it came out yesterday. And that's just not my community only, but like plenty of places on the internet. These games are incredibly relevant and Bethesda just actively supports them. And I'm not saying go live service, but why not just lean into this element that you're trying to hide as part of your studio's DNA? You like to regularly release things. You're constantly doing this. You've done it with Skyrim, and that came out in 2011. Like, you're always tinkering and adding things. So why not embrace it in one of two ways? Like, I know there are companies like EA that do insider programs. We saw how that worked out in a really great way for them, where Battlefield 6 turned out awesome because of a lot of player feedback, but also in a weird way, the leaks from that playtest, EA just sort of let fly out into the wind because they were drumming up hype for the game. People went, wait, hold on, this actually looks really good, and it worked in their advantage. So if the Fallout 3 remaster looks awesome, guess what that's going to do? Drum up a lot of hype. Of course, there's also high-profile RPGs like Baldur's Gate 3, which have leaned more into early access, as have many Larian RPGs. They usually drop the first act and then just build the whole thing alongside their community. Again, I'm not fully in love with this idea because I'm not a huge early access guy. Like, even with Baldur's Gate 3, I just waited for that 1.0 release and then started playing. But I think so long as it's not Fallout 76 beta levels of bad and you put out a good, polished product for the playtest that then you can take feedback in and iterate upon and make the experience better. Like we kind of saw a little bit of that with Oblivion Remaster, where it's like, hey, here it is. Oh, you want new difficulty options? We're on it. Cool. Like, you're already doing these things, so why don't you just publicly lean into them a little bit more? Whether it be calling it early access or doing internal play tests with creators and fans alike, like whatever it may be, like lean into that. If you're so afraid of the community's feedback and you're sort of bookending showcases with like disclaimers and whatnot, why don't you just actually work with them at this point? Because you're already doing it with modders. Last thing, and this is more like a marketing philosophy, but like, bro, capitalize on your opportunities. What are we doing here, baby? I mean, I just mentioned this a few videos ago. Like I got to go hands-on with Burning Springs. And I remember when they sent me the hands-on appointment, it was in September. And I was like, interesting. Maybe they have something else planned for Fallout Day in October, because that's just like a month away. I don't think that's really sneaking up on us, but the videos go live in September. They do well. People are actually interested and excited and think, hey, Burning Springs looks pretty good. But can you imagine if Bethesda said, hey, I got a great idea. hold all of these previews until after the Fallout Day stream ends. Like, hey, the embargo lifts on 2 p.m. Eastern time, October 23rd. And during that same day, you launch the PTS for 76 Burning Springs. The one positive thing about the Fallout Day stream was it was literally Fallout 76, which I can't believe I'm saying, but it was that. It was the one good part about it. And what you could have done is extracted maximum value out of that and been like, okay, let's make this the real home run swing that people are talking about. And this is me putting on my suit and my tie and getting a little more corporate here, but like, it's a little devious to say, but like, yeah, this is how marketing works. You distract people from your problems. Like, oh, we're trying to sell them a lot of shit. They're not going to like that. But imagine if we have all of this stuff happening with 76 and Burning Springs and players are actually able to play something new that's not at this point in the stream, in this timeline, a month old. It just seems so obvious that the only thing I can theorize is that the PTS had to go live in September so they could collect the feedback, bug test, stomp things out, and get it polished for launch in December. That's the only reason I can think about why they didn't do it. So yeah, you can't rush the games at this point. I mean, that ship has unfortunately sailed, and it's something we're going to talk about year after year until we finally get a new Fallout game. But I think these are 3 easy ways for Bethesda to solve their problems. Hey, 76 is getting recurrent updates. Lean into that with synchronized timing with like big Fallout events like Fallout Day. If you're going to lean on your community or you're afraid of them, lean into them a little bit more. Collect that more deep feedback. But third and finally, my God, you have so many in-world brands that you can utilize to create an ARG. I mean, I've even seen companies go the long mile where they'll like ship an ARG package to my house and have me like decode things to figure out like what's happening here. That alone would go a long way. I mean, just the ideas are endless from Bethesda, and they could do this every year. Just every Fallout Day, build the mystery. That's all. That's all until the thing is ready. That's all they have to do. Will they do it? I don't know. It depends how stubborn they are. But I just wanted to say again, the offer's out there. I'm happy to help free of charge. Ladies and gentlemen, y'all let me know what you're thinking about Fallout and this disconnect down below. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts. Other than that, take excellent care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next video. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.